Hey guys, what's going on? So, what happens if you get into an quote unquote online fight? How do you deal with the percussion, the back and forth of people leaving negative comments and criticism on your stuff? Well, I want to share something that happened to me the other day, and I think it'll give you some interesting perspective. All right, so first and foremost, if you don't know who I am, Yuri Elkaim here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. We help health professionals get clients and scale their businesses online. And part of that journey involves dealing with other people's stuff, right? There's going to be people who don't approve of what you're doing. You're going to have a philosophy, a specific way of looking at the world and doing business that, might rub people the wrong way. Or maybe just some people have issues and they want to take it out on you online because they can save face and hide behind a computer. So I went for some bubble tea on the weekend, and I was driving downtown in our town, Oakville, and the bubble tea is on a side street. So there's very few cars that drive on this street. The challenge is that there's no parking on the street. There's no actual parking spots. And so what I've typically done in the past is I just kind of put my car on the streets with my flashers on right outside the bubble tea place. So I pull up to the bubble tea place, get out of my car, put the flashers on. And as I do that, this guy walks his dog by and he's like, hey, this is a through street. You really can't park there. And I was like, no, I understand that. I'm just going to get my bubble tea and I'm going to be back out in a minute. Now, I don't like to point fingers at other people, and I do take 100% responsibility. Could I have found another parking spot somewhere else on some other street? 100%. I take responsibility for that. Is it the end of the world if I park on a street that has little to no traffic on a side street with my flashers on for a minute? I don't think so. So anyways, we continue. So he says, this is a through street. You can't just park there. I'm like, okay, I'm just going in for a minute. I'll be back in a second. He's like, so you think you can just do anything you want? I was like, well, what are you talking about? And anyways, so I kind of start ignoring him, and then he starts going on and on. He's like, oh, we'll see what the cops have to say. And he gets out his phone and he's about to take a picture of my car and license plate. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy's problem? So anyways, I'm like, is it because I'm driving this car? Because I was driving my McLaren. And he's like, no, your car's a piece of shit, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, this guy's got some issues. So I'm going to he's just continuing to just go at me with his mouth. And I'm about 10 meters away. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to even bother. Number one, I'm not going to engage in him. I'm not even going to give him the time of day, nor am I going to even elicit a fight or anything like that. That's not the way I do things. But I could see this going down in different ways with maybe other people in different circumstances where they're like, hey, say that to my face, and because I've seen people get out of their cars and literally hammer each other fist to fist. And I'm like, you guys are nuts. What are you doing? So anyways, he's mouthing off. And I literally, as he's speaking, I just walk into the bubble tea place. So as I'm in there, I see him taking a picture of my car. He's doing whatever he's going to do with it, send it to the police, because I'm sure they're going to chase me down for parking out front for a minute with my flashers on. Anyways, so here's the moral of the story. Around that time, or maybe a few days before, I saw a video from Jocko Willink, who is a former Navy SEAL commander and wrote the book Extreme Ownership, which is one of the best books. If you haven't read it, you have to read it because it'll help you understand that everything in your life is your fault, good or bad, okay? Anyways, so in this video, he was answering the question, what do you do in a fight? So here's Jocko Willink, who's this beast, okay? He's he's a brick, okay? You would not want to mess around with him. And what does he say? He says in the video, he's like, here's what you do if you get into a fight. You run away. You run away. And I was telling my kids this story last night at dinner. Basically what I'm sharing with you here. So he said, you run away for two reasons. Number one, you don't know what that person has on them. Knife, gun, weapon, nunchucks, mad martial arts skills. They could kick the shit out of you. That could happen, okay? I'm going to bring this back to online in a second, so don't worry. Second is that what if you do some major damage to them physically, and now you get charged with assaults, you end up in jail, or they sue you? It's not worth it. So it's a lose-lose situation. So that was, I wasn't thinking about that, but that's just the way I've trained myself over the years, because I don't have time to get into arguments with people. It's ridiculous. Okay. So he's talking, I just walk away. And that's really that really bothers people when you do that. Because when people are looking to pick a fight with you, they're looking to get a rise out of you. They're looking for reciprocation in terms of a duel. If you just walk away, you win, and it pisses them off. So here's what happens online. And I share this with you because I deal with this all the time, whether it's our Facebook ads or anything else that we post online. I'm not saying like every comment is like this, but there's always, the troll here and there. People they'll make negative comments about me as a person. They don't even know me, right? So they'll say like, hey, Mr. Clean, ha ha ha, you're a scam artist. I'm like, okay, so let me just take a step back here. And if I were to respond to this comment, I validate that comment. I validate that for him or her. I'm not even going to bother, but trust me, like it requires less now than it did before, but I'm ready to go off on these people right in the comments. But again, what's the point? Because I've made the mistake in the past of engaging in some of those comments or responding to or trying to defend myself. And it only ever adds fuel to the fire. So here's my rule of thumb. When someone leaves a negative comment or criticizes you, do not even acknowledge their existence. They are a fly on the wall that is not even in your universe, because if you give them zero attention, they lose. And so here's what you do. If you have negative or really, just not pleasant comments that are personal attacks, for instance, obviously there's a lot more of that now, depending on if you're sharing your points of view around all this stuff that's happening with the pandemic and lockdowns and masks and vaxxes and all that kind of stuff. If people leave negative comments on your stuff, you have two choices. Number one, you can enter a debate with them all day long, and then you thinking in the back of your mind, how am I going to deal with this person all throughout the day, which is a complete waste of your energy. Or number two is you just delete their comments. Just delete them. They don't even exist. Or you can leave their comment there if you want. But the problem is if you leave their comment there, it encourages more nonsense from other trolls just like them. So the easiest way to deal with haters, online fights, negative comments is to not even engage in them. Do not reciprocate. Do not answer them. Do not even validate that they exist as people who've left a comment. So all you do is you hit the three little dots, delete, you're done, and you move on. And you just have to develop a certain level of callous that allows you to allow this stuff to slide off you and not take it personally. Because when people attack you, it says more about them than it does about you. If you think about it too, like these are people who don't even know you, because the people closest to you would probably never say this stuff to you. So why are we taking criticism from people we'd never take advice from? So when someone gets really pissed off at me because I'm driving a McLaren, that tells me either he has issues with people who have cool cars or money or whatever, or maybe he's just having a really shitty day. I don't know. Okay. But I'm not going to even bother entertaining that nonsense. And I don't encourage you to do the same, because it's not worth your time. You have bigger fish to fry. And if all of your energy is spent defending yourself or trying to pick fights, what are you doing? Right? It's not worth it. So anyways, hopefully this makes sense. I shared this with my kids last night, so I thought, you know what, might as well share it with you as well. If this makes sense to you, drop me some love, drop me some comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember to subscribe to the channel. And anyways, tons of other stuff to help you guys grow a great business online. Thanks for joining me. Hope you have an amazing day. I'm about to get blinded by the sun, so I'm going to stop it here. Ciao.